Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities and Miniatures, and we have a real quick video today, but I wanted to show off another fun model I got a hold of from Dragon Trapper's Lodge. Now, Dragon Trapper's Lodge has done all sorts of interesting critters and hunters for all of the various locales that they have made designs for so far. But in the last few months, at least as of the time of me filming this, they have really stepped up their game in terms of how much content you get for your dollar or euro or whatever monetary unit that you use to purchase things and subscribe to Patreons or tribes or what have you online and get your STL files. So, anyways, I remember it started with their fantasy. What were they like? Forest insect fairy thing they had going on. Really nice variety of models, and you got a whole ton of stuff that you could basically make a whole entire, skirmish force out of. It was really neat. And this most recent release that came maybe a month or two after it was pretty similar. I only have a couple of the bits printed out, but I just wanted to show off my favorite. Recently, I went over to SeaWorld with my family, and we were all really impressed with the quality and care that they were showing towards a lot of the larger whales and orcas and dolphins and what have you. So when I saw that they had a Cold North Frozen set and they had these giant orca monsters, I had to print this sucker. First of all, he looks ridiculously happy, but he is a big boy. That's at least like an 80 millimeter base that he's rampaging on. And they had a couple of different poses. And one of the cool things about the set that he came from was they had a whole slew of sabertooth people, sabertooth tiger people, I don't know, in both hero form, because obviously you got to have your trappers and hunters that work for the lodge. And then they had an entire set of modular ones as well, which I thought was really cool. Now, one thing that drives me nuts is a lot of times on Dragon Trapper Lodge's figures, they've got really fine details that are an utter pain in the butt to get off the print bed in one piece. Now, this guy looks pretty nice. I mean, it looks like everything is pretty much where it should be, except the fact is they actually sculpted a bowstring on his back, and it was just too fragile. I snipped it accidentally, and finally I clipped it and cleaned it off. And if I hadn't mentioned that, you probably wouldn't have known that. But it's not the first time I've had really tiny fiddly stuff on a Dragon Trapper's Lodge figure end up getting removed accidentally and then absolutely intentionally because it was totally broken. But yeah, otherwise, really nice looking figure. We'll put him with his big orca pal here that he's going to be hunting. That's not even one of the bigger figures in the set. There's like ice golem crystalline creatures. There was mammataurs. I mean, I gotta give credit where credit's due. Dragon Trapper's Lodge really has a bunch of weird, funky critters. I mean, there's an old video I did on their like 8-legged gastropodian crustacean snail monster, the plodhopper. I've got one of the, what they call the bog trotters, I believe. Still sitting here waiting to get some paint on him one of these days. His little lure hanging on his head. I've shown you guys like the big 10-armed, commie spirit thing they did a while back. That was sculpted by the guys and gals, I should say, from Bite the Bullet a long time ago before they started their thing. Got another one of the saber-tooth folk here. If you play Kings of War with the modular figures, I think this might be a really cool. I know obviously Mantic's got the plastic Northkin barbarian raider types already. But this could be a cool little alternative if you wanted to have something different mixed in there. The only real issue is sometimes, in my opinion, the figures from Dragon Trapper's Lodge can be a little scale small. That doesn't make sense. They're a little smaller scaled, I believe. But, if you have stuff like Frostgrave figures handy, I don't think it's going to be as big of a deal with a Kern Reaper. I mean, Maybe I am just spoiled with the amount of giant stuff coming out of GW these days, or the fact that like guys like Titan Forge are, putting out 32 millimeter, but even this is one of their modular figures. It looks pretty much in line with everybody else. Not too big of size discrepancy. So maybe that's just me being finicky and picky, which is entirely possible, using a Frostgrave model right there as well, just to give you a good idea of what to expect in terms of size. Of course, with an extra little base uplift, a Frostgrave or Stargrave figure is going to look right in line with them. Also worth mentioning, another fun little figure in this set were their ice spirits. And there were a couple of these things. I don't know what they are, but I like them. They're like giant furry mouths. Sparkle Trout said they look like the Krites from Critters. And I'd have to agree with him. And I think that's going to be how I have to paint this sucker. And I want to say there were at least 2 or 3 more sculpts besides this one. And I mean, they're pretty good size. Now, one thing to also mention is the fact that all of these figures are actually keyed for their own specific bases. Now, that usually isn't an issue, because obviously what you can do is just with a pair of clippers just snip off the keyed part there, and then you got no worries. Or if you do like printing bases. I'm really bad about bases in general. You'll notice most of the time these things don't end up on their own bases or the bases that are intended for them, but maybe this time, especially since I've already printed them, I might as well give it a try, right? So yeah. Like I said, just a small sampling of the frozen north and all of its wonders that it may hold. I know there's been a couple other cool sets from Dragon Trappers Lodge in the meantime, and I know they also include plenty of play aids if you like to have adventures that tie all this stuff together. They often have those included as well. I was going to find something else. Hopefully, my hope, which I already said, is once I've gotten my new printer up and running, I have quite a backlog of really ridiculously large models from them that I'm hoping I can finally justify and get printed out. So if you've ever seen some of their really impressive big stuff, I've got to get that Lodgeback Snapper printed up. That's probably one of my top 5 figures from them that I have to get printed. I really want to get that thing done. It's literally a giant turtle with a shack on its back and a giant ballista mounted on there. Why would I not want to have that printed, right? So, at least in the meantime, I've got plenty of other stuff. I know they had this set with like a Mad Max pirate set with like boats and bikes and tieflings and goblin engineers and, a whole hive of insects and stuff. So yeah, I'm going to put a link to the My Mini Factory page down below, as well as the Patreon page, where you can take a look at whatever the latest set is that they're offering at the time that you come across this, and hopefully there is something there that tickles your fancy as much as it did mine. With that said, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we will see you back here soon. Bye-bye.